Everyone kindly repeat. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Vrinda Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Gana.
Jaya Jaya Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Gana.
Shakti Deha Kore Yena Chaitanya Varnana.
Bhakti Deha Korina Chaitanya Varna.
Jaya Jaya Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Gana.
Jaya Jaya Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Gana.
Shakti Deha Kore Yena Chaitanya Varnana.
Shakti Deha Korina Chaitanya Varna.
Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschate Sutarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So it's a great fortune to come together on this wonderful Ekadashi Tithi and participate in Kirtan and discuss the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So I'm thankful to all of you for taking the time to come today. And we will resume our discussion on chapter 7, which is Lord Chaitanya in 5 features. And we are in a very interesting section of this chapter where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has started explaining the Vedanta and his understanding of Vedanta. And what does he do in the beginning? He exposes the faults, right, or the limitations of whose translation of the Vedanta? Shankaracharya's. So gradually what he is doing, he is showing the faults of his interpretation. And we are at this point now. In last verse we discussed was 121. And let's recite this verse because it's a very important verse. 121. Vyasera sutra te kahe parinamavad. व्यास भ्रांत बोली तारा उठाइलो विवाद. The translation. in his Vedanta Sutra, Srila Vyasadeva has described that everything is but a transformation of the energy of the Lord. So that is what is called Parinamavad, the theory of transformation. And we discussed this in great length last time, that how the Lord has inconceivable potencies or inconceivable Shaktis. And we, Prabhupada gives the example of a businessman. A businessman has so much potency that by his desire, by his plan, by his resources, he's able to expand in his business in so many different countries. And not only expand one business, he can set up multiple businesses, hire different types of people, have different types of building, have different types of products. And the person is sitting in his house or in the office, or he is on the golf course, and all the work is going on. Maybe he's even sleeping. And in some countries, people are working for that company. So if people in this world can have that kind of potency, so why do we deny God this kind of ability? So this Parinamvad is throughout the Vedanta. So here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying that, but what has Shankaracharya done, that he has misled the world by commenting that Vyasadeva was mistaken. Vyasa Bhranta Boli Tara Uthailo Vivad. So he's practically opposing what Vyasadeva is saying. And he's saying that Vyasadeva is mistaken. He's implying that. So this poses a big problem for us. Why is that? The Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained something in the beginning, that these Vedanta Sutra are what? Whose words are they?
Lord's.
Huh? Yeah, they're the Lord's words. They're compiled by whom? Vyasadeva. And Vyasadeva is the Shakti-Vesh incarnation of the Lord. Now if you say that Vyasadeva is mistaken, that means he's suffering from the 4 defects of a common person, right? A common conditioned person. So isn't that a big insult?
Yes.
So the whole statement or the proposition that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu makes, that these scriptures, the Vedanta Sutra, they are the words of God. And because they're the words of God, they're free from all the 4 defects. But here, Shankaracharya, by implying that Vyasadeva is mistaken, he is contradicting the Vedanta Sutra. Because indirectly he's saying the Vedanta Sutra has been presented incorrectly by Vyasadeva. Parinamavad. Okay. And the other point that we discussed last time was that in this purport, Prabhupada says that from one fact, another fact is created. And he gives the example, just like there's a father. Right? Father's a fact, and from the father and the mother, the son or daughter may come. Right? And the son and the daughter are also a fact. Similarly, the Supreme Absolute Truth is factually a person. And whatever comes from the Supreme Absolute Truth, that is also real. It's a fact. So all the jivas, this material world, different energies of the Lord, they're all factual. So these are the main points Prabhupada writes, and he says the cause being a fact, the effects are also factual. They are not illusion. And one more point that Prabhupada makes very strongly throughout these purports is that even though the Lord creates so many things by his willingness, by his desires, by his glance, by his expansions. So even though he expands into many different forms, his own form doesn't diminish in any way, doesn't deplete in any way, doesn't reduce in any way. It stays exactly the same. And Prabhupada quotes from the verse from the Ishopanishad, Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya. So Purnam Ada Purnam Idam. That God is Purnam, and whatever comes from God is also Purnam, that is also complete. And that even though so many emanations are coming from the Lord still stays complete. Still says Purna. So this is a very, very important, philosophical points to understand. And in the same purport, Prabhupada also gives, the translation, or you can say the commentary by Shankaracharya. He mentions many points, and we will discuss that when we discuss the next verse. Okay. So any points on, or any questions on this Parinamavad? Okay. It's very clear. Okay. So now we will move on. Let us go to verse number 122. Pariname vad Ishvara hoy na vikari. Eta kohi vivartavad stapena je kari. So according to Shankaracharya, by accepting the theory of transformation of the energy of the Lord, one creates an illusion by indirectly accepting that the absolute truth is transformed. So parinama vade Ishvara hoina vikari. So what he's saying here is that if we are to accept parinamavad, theory of transformation, that means that the supreme person or the supreme absolute truth has many potencies. And when we say that someone has energies or capabilities, that means we are saying that supreme absolute truth is a what? Is a personality. And because as a person, and because they have different potencies, they can do many things, changeable things, variety of things. So that would mean that this theory of oneness that the Mayavadis accept will not be true. So if we are to accept Parinamavad, that means that the God is, the supreme absolute truth is ultimately formless. That does not hold. Okay. So what does Vyasadeva do? Eta kohi vivartavad stapena je kore. So what does he establish? He establishes another theory, not Parinamavad, but Vivartavad. And what is that theory? It is a theory of illusion. Now let's read what this theory of illusion means. Prabhupada explains in this purport and in the previous purport. Okay. So Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur comments that if one does not clearly understand the meaning of Parinamvad or transformation of energy, one is sure to misunderstand the truth regarding this material cosmic manifestation and the living entities. So it's very important to understand what Parinamvad means. Otherwise, we will tend to misunderstand the truth regarding the material cosmic manifestation and the living entities. So the material world and the living entities are separate beings, and they are eternally true, not false. So the fact that the Lord is the Supreme Personality and we are the jivas emanating from the Lord, or part and parcel of the Lord, this is eternally true. This is not false. But what does Shankaracharya do? However, unnecessarily fearing that by Parinamavad, Brahman would be transformed, Vikari. That means Brahman would lose his oneness or lose, lose, their or his or her oneness. So he says that he has imagined both the material world and the living entities to be false and to have no individuality. By word jugglery, he has tried to prove that the individual entities of the living entities and the material world are illusory, and he has cited analogies of mistaking a rope for a snake or an oyster shell for gold. Thus, he has most abominably cheated people in general. So this is the theory of illusion, of Vivartavad, that we are actually mistaking. He gives this example that when we see a rope, sometimes you mistake it for a snake, okay, and we get scared, and we get fearful, and we try to, move from that place, or sometimes we shout. But actually, what is happening? It's a mistake. We have mistaken a rope to be a snake. So that was not real, right? There's no snake that's existing. That's a rope which we have mistaken for a snake. So similarly, he says that all this material world, and all the jivas and whatever is going on is actually an illusion. So if we just free ourselves from this illusion, then we are Brahman. So whatever is going on is not real. The world is false, and whatever is going on is all illusory. This is called Vivartavad. So Prabhupada explains in the previous purport, he says that so here in this purport, here, right towards the end, Shankaracharya inconsistently try to prove that it is an illusion to accept the material world and the jivas as byproducts of the Supreme Lord, because in his conception, the existence of the material world and the jivas is different and separate from that of the absolute truth. With this is 121. Yeah, this is 121 purport. Okay. This is such a big purport. It's difficult to even indicate where it is. But you just listen. You just hear what I'm saying. Okay, don't try to read. Just hear. He says that with the jugglery of understanding, Mayavadi philosophers have propagated the slogan Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya, which declares that the absolute truth is fact, but the cosmic manifestation and the living entities are simply illusions, or that all of them are in fact the absolute truth, and that the material world and living entities do not exist, separately exist. So what he's saying is that, and then he says, he maintains that the material cosmic manifestation is mithya or false, but this is a great blunder. If the Supreme Personality of Godhead is a fact, how can his creation be false? Even in ordinary dealings, one cannot think the material cosmic manifestation to be false. Therefore, Vaishnava philosophers say that the cosmic manifestation is not false but temporary. It is separated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but since it is wonderfully created by the energy of the Lord, to say that it is false is blasphemous. So, to put simply, that Shankaracharya, he denies this existence by saying that this is completely false, and whatever is we are experiencing is illusory. So you and I actually don't exist. We are Brahman, but by some illusory, by the effects of the illusory energy, we are thinking all this is real. That you are real and that I am real and our experiences are real, but it's all an illusion. So everyone's thoroughly confused. No?
At least Shankaracharya makes us confused. Srila Prabhupada's purport are clear.
So what is the meaning of actual Vivartavad? So Prabhupada explains this in purport to 122. Okay? So he says that this Vivartavad means to actually accept the body as real. Okay. So we are mistaking the body to be the self. Okay. So that is the real meaning of Vivartavad. Not that, this everything in this world is illusory, but the fact that we are accepting the body as real, or ourselves, right, that I am this body, that we are mistaking, the body to be the real self. Okay. And that is Vivartavad. That is the real understanding according to Vaishnava philosophy. What is Vivartavad?
So Parinama philosophy is also given by Shankaracharya.
So they don't accept Parinamvad. They accept Vivartavad. Because Parinamvad means if there's transformation of energy, then the Supreme Personality is a person, and the Supreme Truth is a person, and there is variety, where a person has capabilities, potencies. So that means there's variety. That means the whole concept of this non-dual Brahman, that one without a second, or one without any differentiation. Okay. So one complete whole, that will not hold true for the Mayavadis.
So Parinama Vaitva?
No, Parinamvad is theory of transformation. That means the Lord, has energies that transform, and manifest in different ways in this cosmic manifestation. So like the material world, it is a transformation of the Lord's energy, of his Shakti. We, like the Jiva, is a transformation of the Lord's energy.
Then the Shankaracharya's, they don't believe in this soul, nothing, Prabhuji.
the existence of soul and
Yeah, they believe in the existence of soul, but the soul for them is Brahman. Yes. And it is one with Brahman. Yes.
Parinam, but this is the same concept we have been studying, we are just or everything is just a manifestation of the Lord.
Yes, so but what here is saying that Shankaracharya does not accept that. And so he's pointing out to the Mayavadis that your leader or your, the one who you hold, like whose commentaries you read, he doesn't accept Parinamvad. And to sort of establish his own, theory, he has, to deny the, Parinamvad, he has offered this explanation of the Vedanta Sutra, which is called Vivartavad. And by doing that, he has implied that Vyasadeva is incorrect in his explanations of the Vedanta Sutra. Okay.
This Parinam, but have we read this word? Because the theory is same we have read.
Yeah, no, we have not, this term itself, we have not studied so far. It's the first time it's mentioned.
Being made from everything is illusion according to them.
Yes. It doesn't really exist.
So they consider Vyasadeva as normal human beings.
Well, they don't consider him a normal, but in some, he's obviously empowered, but in some cases they're saying maybe he's made a mistake. Okay. It's implying that he's made a mistake.
Person who made mistake is saying Vyasadeva.
Yes. And that person is not at fault because he has done it under the, the instructions of the Supreme Lord.
Probably later on in the later on verses, is that we'll be studying that somebody will be contacting them or offending them, what they're saying is wrong or is to be there.
Yeah, so let's see what happens. Yes. Be patient.
That time they have so we need I cannot take a U-turn or sharp U-turn.
Yes.
That's why Shankaracharya has came as avatar at that point of time. And then he has taken a little form of this is Vivartanva. And slowly so that it is easier for the Vaishnavas Acharya to come to this philosophy. So that's why he was.
So we have discussed this, as Mataji pointed out, that Shankaracharya obviously did it considering time, place, and circumstances to again reconnect the as many people to the Vedic literature. Okay. Because people had lost faith, and because of many different reasons of animal sacrifices going on, and the rise of Buddhism, Jainism. So okay. So anyway, the main thing is to just understand these key points so that to increase our own conviction. Okay. And how wonderful, the explanation Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving. It's so, we read more and then we'll see how beautifully he explains everything. So in 123, he says, let's recite this first. Vastutha parinamavad se pramana Deha atma buddhiye vivarter sthana. So transformation of energy is a proven fact. It is the false bodily conception of the self that is an illusion. So Prabhupada writes, unfortunately, he thinks the body to be the self, and that misunderstanding is called vivarta, or acceptance of untruth to be truth. The body is not the self, but animals and foolish people think that it is. So vivarta illusion does not, however, denote a change in the identity of the spirit soul. It is a misconception that the body is the self, and that is an illusion. (124) Avichintya Shakti Yukta Shri Bhagavan Ichha Jagat Rupe Paye Parinam. So Avichintya Shakti Yukta, Sri Bhagavan, the Supreme Absolute Personality of Godhead, Avachintya Shakti, he possesses unlimited potencies. And he's opulent in all respect because he's Sri Bhagavan. And by his ichchaya, by his wish, he has transformed the material cosmic manifestation. So this is also a very, very important point in our spiritual lives to understand. This Achintya Shakti. So what does Achintya mean?
There cannot be
Inconceivable. So if the Lord is inconceivable, what does that practically mean to us?
We cannot understand.
So we cannot fully understand the Lord by our own endeavor, by our own intelligence, by our own study and analysis. We will not be able to understand God like that. In order for God to be God, Jiva Goswami says, he must be inconceivable. Because if we could understand God by our own material intelligence, that means our intelligence would be as good as God. Yes. So by our own endeavor, if you could understand God, that means we are as good as God. And this also means that there are going to be many things happening in this world, in our lives, which will make no sense to us, which will bewilder us sometimes. Yes or no? And so many times things happen and we think, this doesn't make any sense. So what do we do in those kind of circumstances?
We should understand that.
Yes, we should continue to take shelter. Because if we try to analytically understand everything that goes on in our lives, what will happen? As devotees, what will happen? Will we be able to make progress? We won't be able to make progress.
We will have doubts.
Yeah, so many doubts. We'll get discouraged. So this is also one key principle that as aspiring devotees, we have to keep in the forefront. Because in this world, many things happen, even within our community, many things happen. There's sometimes there's scandals, there's so many things happen that totally can be very bewildering. And it has happened for the past, ever since iskcon has been formed. There have been many, many different challenges. Many, many things happen that if we try to make sense of it, it just we'll get so bogged down by it that we'll not be able to continue with our spiritual lives. So this achintya principle is very, very important, because sometimes, devotees get so hung up on certain things that it ruins their progress. Because they, I don't understand. I need to understand. This doesn't make any sense. So in that condition, our progress has become stalled. So this is one principle that I can say that has personally helped me also so many years, kind of just still trying to hang on. So so I feel that we should deeply reflect on this point, because when everything is bewildering, and there's only one thing that we ought to do, and that is to remember this fact and take Krishna's shelter. And then Kaviraj Goswami, in the next two verses, he gives an example of a touchstone. That, by touching a touchstone, then what happens? Things get transformed, but the touchstone remains unchanged. So he gives, although a touchstone produces many varieties of valuable jewels, it nevertheless remains the same. It doesn't change the original form. In 126. So then Kaviraj Goswami says, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying here, he says, if there is such inconceivable potency in material objects, why should we not believe in the inconceivable potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? And Srila Prabhupada, we may not be able to identify with the example of a touchstone, but Prabhupada gives the example of the sun in this purport, which we discussed last time. How the sun, he just completely, you could have a whole pile of stool, could have the nastiest things in this world, and still the sun will disintegrate everything and take away all the aroma and just absorb everything, and yet it's not that the sun is going to start smelling. And every morning sun is shining and there's a bad smell everywhere in this world, in this universe. No, the sun will be completely unaffected. And Prabhupada gives this explanation in the purport right in the beginning. And then he says that in the next paragraph, he says the falsity of Sripad Shankaracharya's explanation of Vivartavad and Parinamvad has been detected by the Vaishnava Acharyas, especially Jiva Goswami, whose opinion is that actually Shankara did not understand the Vedanta Sutra. In Shankara's explanation of one sutra, Anandamaya Bhyasa, he has interpreted the affix mayat with so much word jugglery that this very explanation proves that he has very little knowledge of the Vedanta Sutra, but simply wanted to support his impersonalism through the aphorisms of the Vedanta philosophy. Actually, however, he failed to do so because he could not put forward strong arguments. And then he explains further that how Shankaracharya, like, he derives secondary meanings out of many statements and interprets various Sanskrit words in a way that he implied So he implied that Vyasadeva had very little knowledge of higher logic. Such unscrupulous deviation from the real meaning of the Vedanta Sutra has created a class of men who by word jugglery try to derive various indirect meanings from the Vedic literatures, especially the Bhagavad Gita. And then Prabhupada explains that how, some people have even said how the Kurukshetra refers to the body. So these are all incorrect interpretations. And Prabhupada says, we should not waste our time falsely deriving such indirect meanings from the Vedanta Sutra and other Vedic literature. One should accept the words of these books as they are. And that's why Prabhupada called Bhagavad Gita as it is. We have not changed the meaning of the original words. Okay. So now we come to a very, very important verse. 128. And we will spend some substantial time discussing this very long purport of Prabhupada with many, many important points. So far everyone is clear? Okay. Now, what he's going to say is that in the next few verses, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is going to explain that not only have they, has Shankaracharya indirectly interpreted the Vedanta Sutra, but another thing that he has done is that even the fundamental conclusions or the essence of the Vedanta Sutras, he has presented even that incorrectly. Okay. So the real, essential verses, what is the essential fundamental understanding of the Vedanta Sutra? He has also made a blunder with that as well. Okay. So what is the real understanding or the Mahavakya? Mahavakya means the essence of the Vedanta Sutra. Now let's hear it in this verse. Pranavashay Mahavakya Vedira Nidana Ishvara Swarupa Pranava Sarva Vishwadhama. So the Vedic sound vibration Omkar, which is called Pranava. The principal word in the Vedic literatures is the basis of all Vedic vibrations. Therefore, one should accept Omkar as a sound representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the reservoir of the cosmic manifestation. So the Omkar is Shre Mahavakya Vedena Nidan. So this is the basic principle of the Vedas, the Omkar. Or we say Om. And Omkar is a sound representation of the Supreme Personality of God. Why do you think Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when you read this verse, so why do you think he's explaining this or pointing this out? In the context of the conversation that is going on between the Mayavad sannyasis and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, why is he going to now focus on this?
They say
Om Tat Sat.
Brahmavad starts, okay?
It's like Om Tat Sat.
They say that.
Okay, Om Tat Sat, okay? any other reasons why he may have done that? That could also be a reason. But in the context of the conversation that is going on, one very essential point that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is going to establish through this verse and the further discussion is
and Krishna are the same.
yes, but the sound vibration, the importance of sound or chanting. Okay, because
then that means the Lord is personality. If the vibration
okay,
is coming.
what else? Yes, what else? So what did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu get criticized for?
Chanting the
He got criticized for chanting. And now, what is he going to do?
He's going to prove that the name is the Supreme Personality.
So he is going to establish, based on the Vedanta Sutra, the authenticity of the sound vibration. That how that is the Mahavakya. You all are, giving so many interpretations of the Mahavakya, or you're establishing. But what is the real Mahavakya? This is Omkar. Is the Mahavakya. And Srila Prabhupada writes, this purport is really outstanding. It's really far out. It has so many important points to understand that we may have to read the whole purport because this is so wonderfully explained by Srila Prabhupada. So the first thing he says, and this is also said in the Bhagavad Gita 8.13, Om iti ekaksharam brahma. Okay. So he says this verse indicates that Omkar or Pranava is the direct representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, if at the time of death one simply remembers Omkar, he remembers the Supreme Personality of Godhead and therefore immediately transferred to the spiritual world. Omkar is the basic principle of all Vedic mantras, for it is the representation of Lord Krishna, understanding of whom is the ultimate goal of the Vedas. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Vedescha sarve aham eva vedya. So Omkar is a direct representation of the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna. And then Prabhupada says that the Mayavadi philosophers, that they can't even understand this simple fact explained in the Bhagavad Gita. And yet they are proud of being Vedantis. So he says, sometimes therefore we refer to the Vedanti philosophers as Vedantis. Those who have no teeth. V means without. Right? So Vedanti have become Vedanti. Become toothless. And then Srila Prabhupada, he quotes from different verses from the Bhagavad Gita. Three verses from the Bhagavad Gita. And Prabhupada says, if one actually understands that Omkar is the sound vibration of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whether he chants Omkar or the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, the result is certainly the same. Okay. So in the Bhagavad Gita, there are these three famous verses, glorifying the Omkar. And the third verse, it says, from the beginning of creation, the three syllables Om Tat Sat have been used to indicate the supreme absolute truth Brahman. They were uttered by the Brahmanas while chanting the Vedic mantras and during sacrifices for the satisfaction of the Supreme. Then Prabhupada makes another very important point. He says, Srila Jiva Goswami in his thesis, Bhagavad Sandarbha says that in the Vedic literature, Omkar is considered to be the sound vibration of the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Only this vibration of transcendental sound can deliver a conditioned soul from the clutches of Maya. Sometimes Omkar is also called the deliverer, Tar. So it is, Omkar is the deliverer. And because it is the deliverer, all potencies are invested in the holy vibration of the holy name. Nam Nam Akari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shakti. So because it is the sound vibration of the Supreme Lord, it is invested with all the potencies that the Lord personally is invested with. I mean, this is really this Achinta Shakti of the Lord. That in his sound vibration, he has invested his personal Shakti. That means this sound can transform us just like the presence of the Supreme Lord. So the Lord is here personally, and if he's not here, his sound vibration can do the same thing that the Lord can do when he's in person. So we have access to that kind of potency. Which we tend to take for granted. We tend to be offensive. But this is the potency of the sound vibration.
My mind feels more powerful than sound vibration.
Yeah, so this is the impact of Maya. We think, we know it. What is this? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So what does this have to do with Om? So we will read. Okay. So another point that Prabhupada makes in this purport is that one who chants Omkar no longer remains a Shudra, but immediately comes to the position of a Brahmana. Simply by chanting Omkar, one can understand the whole creation to be one unit or an expansion of the energy of the Supreme Lord. Idam hi Vishwam Bhagavan Ivitaro Yato Jagat Sthana Nirodha Sambhava. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is himself in this cosmos, and still he is aloof from it. From him only this cosmic manifestation has emanated. In him it rests, and unto him it enters after annihilation. So everything is an expansion of the Supreme Lord. And we all have access. We may be from a Shudra background, which in Kali Yuga, most of us are in that situation. But the sound vibration can transform us. It can transform our hearts. It can transform our desires. It can transform everything, our character. So this is the power of the sound vibration. Now, Prabhupada says that one should not, however, foolishly conclude that because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is omnipotent, we have manufactured a combination of letters A, U, and M to represent him. So we should not think that Om is just some creation. Lord is omnipotent, so just take any few words and put them together and say, okay, this is the sound vibration of the Lord. The Lord is all pervasive, so he is everywhere. So just take 3 words and combine it, and this is the sound vibration of the Supreme Lord. So this is, Prabhupada says, should not be whimsically done. One should not conclude. Prabhupada says that, one should not, however, foolishly conclude that because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is omnipotent, we have manufactured a combination of letters. Factually, the transcendental sound Omkar, although a combination of the three letters A, U, and M, has transcendental potency, and one who chants Omkar will soon realize Omkar and Lord Vishnu to be non-different. That's why Krishna says, Pranava Sarva Vedeshu. I am the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras, Bhagavad Gita 7.8. One should therefore conclude that among the many incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Omkar is a sound incarnation. All the Vedas accept this thesis.
Chanting the Omkar means Om, Om, Om.
Yes. Om. Now, what does this Om mean? Okay. What is the real meaning of Om according to our Vaishnava Acharyas? Omkar is a combination of the letters A, U, and Ma. So Akar, right? Akar refers to Krishna. So A is, who's it referring to? Akar? Krishna. Who is Sarva Lokaika Nayak, right? The master of all living entities and planets, material and spiritual. Nayak means leader. He's a supreme leader. Nitya Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. So this is the meaning of Akar. So what is Ukar? Ukar refers to Srimati Radharani, the pleasure potency of Krishna. And Ma refers to whom? Yes, indicates the living entities, jivas. Thus, Om is the complete combination of Krishna. So Krishna, the Supreme Personality, is internal Shakti, which also presents itself in this material world as the external Shakti, and then the marginal Shakti. Then Prabhupada says, in other words, Omkar represents Krishna, his name, fame, pastimes, entourage, expansions, devotees, potencies, and everything else pertaining to him. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu states in the present verse of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sarva Vishwadham, Omkar is the resting place for everything, just as Krishna is the resting place of everything. Brahmano hi pratishtha aham. So this is the Mahavakya of the Vedanta Sutra. And Prabhupada says any other things that people come up with, sometimes politicians, they use the Bhagavad Gita and say actually non-violence is preached in the Bhagavad Gita. So Prabhupada says that they are merely passing remarks. Shankaracharya, however, has never stressed chanting of the Mahavakya Omkar. He has accepted only Tat Tvam Asi as the Mahavakya. Imagining the living entity to be God, he has misrepresented the mantras of the Vedanta Sutra with the motive of proving that there is no separate existence of the living entities and the Supreme Truth. With this, we will discuss in the next few verses. Okay. The last thing that Prabhupada writes in the final purport. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has declared, Mayavadi Bhashya Shunile Hoy Sarvanash. We have heard this many times and we should keep this in our mind. So as explained in the Bhagavad Gita 15.15, Vedescha sarve aham eva vedya. All Vedic literatures aim at understanding Krishna. Mayavadi philosophy, however, has deviated everyone from Krishna. Therefore, there is a great need for the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world to save the world from degradation. Every intelligent and sane man must abandon the philosophical explanation of the Mayavadis and accept the explanation of Vaishnava Acharyas. One should read Bhagavad Gita as it is to try to understand the real purpose of the Vedas. So the real purpose of the Vedas is available in the Bhagavad Gita as it is. So all this vast Vedic literature in 700 verses, we can get the essence. And Prabhupada explains, Vedes Chisamved Aham Eva Vedya. And if Krishna is to be understood, and if Krishna's sound vibration is not different from Krishna, and that is the prescribed method in this age, so what else do we want? So we have it all, and that is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is establishing that. He's saying in 129, he says, it is the purpose of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to present Pranava Omkar as the reservoir of all Vedic knowledge. The words Tat Tvam Asi are only a partial explanation of the Vedic knowledge. So the Mahavakya, according to the Mayavadis, Shankaracharya, are statements like Tat Tvam Asi, you are that. So when you hear you are that, basically what they're saying is that you are Brahman. You are the absolute truth. But what is the Vaishnava understanding of Tat Tvam Asi?
Qualitative.
Yes. So we are exactly what you just said. We are one with the Lord.
Quality wise.
Yes.
Quantity wise, we are very.
Yes, we are tiny. So we are one, yet we are different. So in 130, he says that Pranava is the Mahavakya in the Vedas. Pranava Mahavakya Taha Kori Achadan. So they cover this. Shankaracharya's followers cover this to stress without authority the mantra Tat Tvam Asi. So aham, all these aham brahmasmi. So aham, tat tvam asi. So these kind of mantras, they and Prabhupada writes, because they misrepresent Vedic knowledge, they are the greatest offenders to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Mayavadi Krishna Aparadhi. Just two more things and then you can ask your questions. Okay, just a few more verses we'll be on. So is it clear so far?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's go to 131. Let's recite this verse. Sarva Vede Sutra Kare Krishnera Abhidhana Mukhya Vritti Chadi Koilo Lakshana Vyakhana Sarva Vede Sutra Kare Krishnera Abhidhana Mukhya vritti chhadi koilo lakshana vyakhana. So in all Vedic sutras and literatures, it is Lord Krishna who is to be understood. So nicely now, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Sarva Veda Sutra Kore Krishnera Abhidhan. Krishnera Abhidhan means it explains all the Vedas, all the sutras. Krishnera Abhidhan. That is the mukh. And what has Shankaracharya done? Mukhya vritti chhadi. That means he has put aside, he has left the mukhya vritti aside. And koilo, he has given indirect vyakhan, explanations. And then 132. Swata parama veda pramana, Swata pramana veda pramana shiromani. Lakshana korilo swata pramanatahani. The self-evident Vedic literatures are the highest evidence of all. But if these literatures are interpreted, their self-evident nature is lost. When one quotes from the Vedic literature, it is to be understood that the quotations are authoritative. How can one bring the authority under his own control? So this is a case of principis obster. This one, we need to look up what this means. This, I forgot to read this one.
This is the beginning or oppose the first step.
Huh?
This is the beginning.
Sorry?
Resist the beginning.
Resist the beginning?
Or oppose the first step.
Okay, or oppose the first step. Yes. So you just oppose, that the Lord is a person and the Lord is Sri Krishna. And so in 133, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, to prove their philosophy, the members of the Mayavad school have given up the real, easily understood meaning of the Vedic literatures and introduced indirect meanings based on their imaginative powers. Kalpana Korea, Gauna Artha Vyakha Kore, Kalpana Korea. And this way, and then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one by one, Ei Mata Prastud Prati Sutrita Korena Dushan. Suni Chamatkar Hoilo Sannyasi Raga. So every sutra he took and he showed the defects. And the Mayavadis were struck with wonder. Let's recite verse number 135. Shakala sannyasi kahe sunha sripada. Tumi je khandile artha ei nahe vivad. All the Mayavad sannyasis said, Your Holiness, kindly know from us that we actually have no quarrel with your refutation of these meanings, for you have given a clear understanding of the sutras. So the Mayavadis are? Yes, they are transformed. And then they admit, they say, we know that all this world jugglery springs from the imagination. Acharya Kalpita Artha Iha Shobha Jani. We know that these are all word juggleries from the imagination of Shankaracharya. But what to do? Sampradaya Anurodhe Tabu Taha Mani. Yet because we belong to this sect, We accept it although it does not satisfy us. So the Mayavadis are revealing their hearts. And now, in the next session, we will cover the final section of this explanation, and which will be an answer to this question in 137. They say, tell us how well you can describe the sutras in terms of their direct meaning. So they will ask Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as you are asking, so what is the direct meaning of the sutras? Tell us, in essence. So here, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in just maybe 10 verses, he will explain the essence, which we will cover next time. Okay. So now we will open up for any questions, any realizations you may have, offline or online.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Just one second, yes.
Shall I ask or shall I ask later?
Any questions asked, so Prabhu, just wait for a second. Huh? So yes, Mataji, they are admitting that they are not actually satisfied. Yeah, because now they are good. They belong to that sampradaya.
That the Mayavad philosophy, even currently, whoever is following is not satisfied deep down.
Yeah, ultimately they cannot be satisfied because of their offense towards the Lord. If they are, offensive towards the form of the Lord, and they don't accept the Lord and His potencies, and they think that the Lord's personal form is a transformation of the mode of goodness, this form itself is under Maya. So how can they be satisfied? Yes, they may be through their tapasya, they may gain a lot of self-control, but ultimately the soul can't be satisfied just by tapasya and by just word jugglery and by scriptural analysis and study and memorizing shlokas. How can the soul be satisfied?
So when this philosophy is presented to them, it's easy then to preach in today's world because 99% is bad.
It's not easy.
Don't try.
It's not easy because they enjoy their indirect, they obviously they get some pleasure out of their analysis and their meditation, but ultimately they will not be satisfied. There's definitely some satisfaction they get because they may have, through their previous practices, their tendencies to analyze and study verses and Brahman and this and so much philosophy and analysis of Sanskrit and deriving so many different meanings. So they may have that kind of aptitude, and they may get some satisfaction out of that, but ultimately they will not be satisfied.
Meditation is wide, no?
Yes, meditation on the void, and they have different techniques. Sometimes on the lamp and so many things they do, which I have no idea.
So they are
Yes.
very, very strong. Actually, we Vaishnavas are very, very simple, but they are very tough and very aggressive in philosophy.
Yes.
So don't ever try to convince them. They will convert you for sure. Number one. A second, probably like outside world, like first time I have heard that for Paramatma, then like Krishna, Radharani, and Jiva. And otherwise, like till today, I was hearing what Uma represents Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh.
So this is the explanation of the Vaishnava Acharyas.
And maybe in a bigger perspective, this is very unfortunate for Sanatana Dharma. Like we are limited to India only.
Yes.
And within this community also we are fighting so much in the name of Mayavadi, Vaishnavism and so on. So actually we are weakening each other by all the juggleries or the debates or whatever.
Yeah, so there's no need to, fight in that sense.
But this is hidden fight, probably it is going on.
No, it's not hidden. Like, see, our philosophy is very simple. We have to be respectful towards everyone. If we want to really relish the Mahamantra, we have to be in that consciousness where we respect everyone, including the Mayavadis. Okay. Including those who bring us, they may directly give us trouble. But yet, if we have dvesh in our hearts, we can't be, we can't completely realize Krishna. So as long as desire and dvesh is there, ichha to be the controller, and dvesha that, why is someone else the controller? Why is someone else, going ahead? Why is, has this opulence and that opulence? Why don't I have? Why are the Mayavadis getting so much attention, prominence? So all this dvesh, ultimately, we have to become free from it. If you read in the Bhagavad Gita, so many verses describing a transcendental personality. They're all free from dvesh. And Krishna makes it clear in the second chapter that unless we're free from this, dvesh, we cannot even get the mercy of the Supreme Lord. So it's deep rooted in us. If we are honest, it's there. But as aspiring devotees, we should be crying, we should be trying, we should be striving, for Krishna's mercy, so that all these rotten things in our hearts, they become purified. So that we don't have this dvesh. This is the purpose why we are chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Why we are doing anything, why we are sitting here, and why are we discussing Chaitanya Charitamrita? Just because it's considered PhD in spiritual science. So I can say I have studied Chaitanya Charitamrita. Every Saturday I study Chaitanya Charitamrita. No. Chaitanya Charitamrita means it's like we are getting together to understand, the Supreme Personality of Godhead in His most merciful form, and access that mercy. To understand what, the Lord has come to give us and His compassion for all of us. So that's why we study Chaitanya Charitamrita, so that we can, our faith in the Lord increases. Our desire to follow the process that the Lord taught and exemplified, as a devotee, that increases. All the 26 qualities of the devotee that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains to Sanatana Goswami. So we can aspire for those. We can, nurture that. Otherwise, what's the use? We're wasting time. So scriptures is, whether it's the Gita, whether it's the Bhagavatam, whether it's the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's serious. It's serious business. It's not just, we just, okay, I've done my Bhakti Shastri. So what have you learned? What are you practicing? What are you praying for? How it is changing your life? These are things that are important. So you had a question.
we have also asked earlier that how we can understand that qualitatively we are same as Krishna, and what quantity makes a difference. How this quantity, how we can understand that we are same of same quality, and quantity we know that Krishna is supreme and all his over.
So imagine this whole room now, there's a big block of gold. Okay. This whole room is just gold. It's like one big block of gold. And you're standing in that room and you have a tiny ring made of gold, of that gold. So what's the difference? Is there a difference? Yes, there is a difference. You can't compare that ring with this, this whole room, like, tons of gold in this room. Or, an ocean and a drop. Like, so the Lord has unlimited potency. We are limited. We can't create, the universes by our glance and activate the material energy. Can we do that? Yeah, but we can, set up a company and, we have limited potency. But can we create a universe that is ever expanding? So that's the difference. Yes, we can create a laptop. We can create a gigantic factory, but can we create a universe? And that also, just lying down. And not just one. Unlimited number of universes coming through the breathing of Mahavishnu. That's our Lord. Can we do that?
The Lord being an atom, a small atom, has huge energy. We don't have such energy.
No, we have. Why not? The soul is unbelievable. 78% of the Lord. That's our potential.
In our purest state.
Yeah. I mean, that's some serious potential. I mean, whenever I think of that number, I think, my God, like, means नहीं, हम कुछ हो सकते हैं, हम कुछ है नहीं, हम क्या हो सकते हैं, हम कहाँ चल रहे हैं और हम कहाँ हो सकते हैं, कहाँ पहुंच सकते हैं.
What's this number?
78%. That is Lord Brahma. So the Jiva, in his full potential, 78% of the Lord, means 50 out of 64 qualities of the Supreme Lord. Yes. Okay, Saurabh Prabhu. You have a
Hare
question?
Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes.
Prabhu, my question is that it is very in detail explain the Pranav mantra, Omkar. If somebody asks, or I myself was thinking about it, then why don't we only chant Omkar and we chant Mahamantra? If
Very
it's
good
one and
question. I meant to explain that and I missed it and you brought it up. So that's a wonderful opportunity to share wonderful purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, 5th chapter, verse number 26. Srila Prabhupada says here, whether one chants Omkar or addresses the Lord as Krishna, the meaning is the same. Yes, everyone is clear?
Yeah.
Okay. But you have to understand the real meaning of Omkar, not Brahma, Vishnu Mahesh. Okay, as you said. So real meaning, then it is the same as Krishna. Okay. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has recommended that in this age one chant the Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. Although there is no difference between the Hare Krishna and the Vedic mantras beginning with Omkar, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the leader of the spiritual movement for this age, has recommended that one chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And why is this so? Because it is more personal. Okay. The name Krishna is more personal.
It's from 6th canto, 5th chapter, and verse, Prabhuji.
Verse number 26. It's more personal, and that is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has recommended that we chant the Maha Mantra. And that is the process for the age of Kali. It's easier, and I tell you, there are many practical reasons. One thing is, I don't know if you'll be able to have kirtan if you just chant Om. Just think, you know. Huh? 16 round भी भागना पड़ रहा है.
Also, maybe I could, feel that if we actually chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we could actually see that reciprocation coming. But in Omkar,
Yeah, so if you go to Chat GPT and you ask, okay, what's the difference between, according to Vaishnav theology, what is the difference between, I don't know, give me a nice table, where, let me see if I can find it. I don't know, whenever you want something, it disappears. Here it is. So it says that, no, this is not the one. Basically, it says the same thing, that it is impersonal, and that's why we don't chant Omkar. Is that okay, Saurabh Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu, understood. It clarifies that it is more personal for Kali Yuga. We are being told by Mahaprabhu what need to be done, and hence we do it.
Yes.
Correct, Prabhu. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or realizations anyone wants to share?
No, you mentioned.
Yes, Mataji.
I've been on my mind for very long since we spoke about this, that you said we should be very respectful towards Mayavadis, and we don't have to carry any negative into it. In the sense, at least we should be respectful for them. Now, coming to the context of Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada has criticized the Mayavadis, very directly. So now, when from a broader view, when we are trying to distribute this literature so much, and we are also talking that most of the people are Mayavadis. When people who are on that path, or they don't have any idea about, they are confused. So the moment they read this, Mayavadis is like drinking poison and whatever, Prabhupada has written so much. So does that not restrict, the people? Because the first thought of somebody who's not really, into a Vaishnava tradition, or who's generally just known God, he is formless. So it's somewhere, this is my feeling, I mean, you can just share what you, that is it not restricting people to even go further, because they think, they are criticizing the Nirakar so much, and they don't move forward with actually trying to get into more details or even complete the literature, which has so many other big points. We can learn so much. So, I just think, he is, and I've heard some of the lectures of Vedantists also. They are very respectful for Bhakti. I mean, jitna maine suna.
Yes.
So, kahin na kahin, are we not limiting? I mean, like, no offense to Prabhupada, of course, he's written it with the view so that people know the truth. But somewhere it does act the other way, because I have friends.
Yeah, so why don't you suggest a alternative. What's an alternative for that? There is. You give other books that, they're not so strong on Mayavad philosophy, they're Krishna conscious. Like for me, when I was in college, initially even I found Prabhupada's Gita difficult to read. Like all these, I found it was too strong. And maybe I was not ready for that time. So then I started reading other books. Like this Satyaraj Prabhu, then that time His Holiness Satsrup Maharaj, he had many books. Those were the two main authors. More books of Satsrup Maharaj. So in the Dallas temple, I would buy every weekend. I'd buy a new book. So I would read those books. They are less heavy on Mayavad philosophy, where Prabhupada is, he doesn't spare impersonal philosophy. And there's a reason. You see, later on, we start to appreciate. If Prabhupada had not given this clarity, I don't think we would have so many devotees today. Because he has given this clarity, that's why people's faith in Krishna is more. That's why they are devotees. Prabhupada says, before people read Bhagavad Gita, not a single person became a devotee. No one would chant, no one would, hardly do worship the way we worship. How many people went to Vrindavan before? How many people chanted the Mahamantra? How many, kirtans would happen? How much actual glorification of Krishna would take place? Hardly any. So yes, it may, on the surface, seem to not be helping, but ultimately we start to relish these purports. And people start to relish. So we have to devise a strategy. Someone you feel that, you give them some other literature.
That initially they are not able to connect and they feel, oh, this is so much criticism of another part. So then they want to be like ISKCON. I've come across people, I have come across another experiences. So maybe I'm not being able to then. So yeah,
you give them some other books, where Prabhupada is not that heavy. He has many small books. There are many, Prabhupada's disciples who have written many amazing books. You can give them to start with. Especially those city professionals, you have to start usually with other books. Because they think this is too strong. It's too critical, it's disrespectful, it's this, it's that, everything has to be.
This totally strict line not made by Prabhupada. Right now we are seeing devotees are migrating towards some other Maharaj, Babaji, Radhanath Maharaj, sorry, Premanand Maharaj. But if that difference is not made by Prabhupada, and Prabhupada also said this is a spiritual society, going to impersonalism or like that, then we will see devotees are migrating to those sampradayas also, Mayavadis, and if there is no difference that these sampradayas are also okay, this philosophy also giving you something. So for the sake of purity of devotional service, I think that this difference is very, very.
Yeah, definitely. This clarity. But there are purports in the Bhagavatam where Prabhupada says we must respect. They are also spiritual seekers. I will take out that purport. It's in the first canto, right in the beginning. So there are many purports like that. So see, when we have to evaluate Srila Prabhupada's teachings in its full context. Okay. And if our real essence of the essence is, Trinadapi Sunichena, so which Prabhupada was the embodiment of that. So why did he criticize? Why? To protect the confidentiality of bhakti and to glorify Krishna with full, ability, so that there should be nothing that prevents the glorification of Krishna. Should be an obstacle or so that's why he hammered at so many different points. And he's hammering at the philosophy. He's hammering at the philosophical points. But in this purport, he also he says they will go to hell.
Yes, Prabhuji, like one more point, is coming to my mind. Like someone like Prabhupada, who's already on Raganuga Bhakti level, who's worshipping the form of the Lord in a very personal way, and someone who says that Lord has no form, immediately
agitated.
Yes, and I have heard my Guru Maharaj also. Whenever the point comes of Lord has no form, they become so agitated and what all rubbish, everything they speak.
Because that offense is actually against Krishna. And because of that offense, that living entity is denying themselves that relationship with the Supreme Lord.
That how can you say that my Lord has no form?
So we'll see, like in the next chapter, Kaviraj Goswami, the statements he makes, not against Mayavadis, but anyone who doesn't believe in Krishna and Lord Chaitanya. My God, listen to what he has to say. But that's their faith. That's their, deep faith that is coming out. Okay. And we have to, so initially we'll not be able to respect that or even understand it or acknowledge it. But ultimately it's also their, faith. And Srila Prabhupada, he personally, I think he relishes at dismantling Mayavad philosophy. Because it is so prominent in this world, he feels that, yes, this seva is a good one. This is much needed. So, and that's his mission. He gave a pranam mantra. His pranam mantra itself speaks, what is his purpose? And it's right there in the beginning of, the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita. He makes it very clear what's he going to do. He says even on the first purport, what's he going to do in this Gita? So nothing, no bars, nothing. He's going to go full out. Yeah, you devise a different strategy. बोलो मायावाद छोड़ो ना आप ये वाली किताब पढ़ो.
Prabhuji, one thing I was...
No, you give books. Why? We have so much philosophy without, bashing the Mayavadis.
It's like we don't hate the person, we hate the philosophy.
Yes.
That is what I was about to say. For example, if someone has done the robbery, right, and the person maybe has got injured, but we are compassionate towards that person, but we are not supporting the robbery as such, right?
But Mataji has pointed out, that it is difficult for many people to digest those statements, especially on the first reading.
It's not that bhakti practitioners cannot be impersonal. There are many who are so impersonal, and here we saw that how that impersonal sannyasis are also revealing their heart to Lord Chaitanya. So they are being personal there. If we take literally.
So actually, we also have in our hearts an impersonal side tendency, especially in the modern world. We tend to be more impersonal. In the sense that we have a hard time with persons in this world. Right? So when we have a hard time with persons in this world, then our respect for persons or personality starts to diminish. And we say, I'd rather avoid dealing with persons, or getting too close to persons. Just अपना काम निकालो और चलते बनो. So that's a type of selfishness and also a type of impersonalism. You just kind of use and move on. So this bhai actually comes. And Krishna says in the 4th chapter that if you want to experience bhav, you have to get rid of this bhai. This fear of persons, which is there in us. Sometimes we have bad experiences with people. Someone's, ran away with our money, or so maybe our spouse not treating us properly, or mother-in-law, mother or parents or sibling, friends, colleagues, boss. So many ways we can experience a lot of pain when it comes to dealing with persons. Means there's no shortage of that. Isn't it? Most of us, अच्छा खासा pain मिलता है, no? Of course, it's our, sometimes we are also responsible, but sometimes we get it for no reason. No? Problem kahin aur hai and you become the recipient.
That pain also helps us hook to this path.
Yeah, it should. But for many people, they just say, forget it. Forget all this dealing with persons and all that. And God, a person, forget it. If there's a reality, then God is also formless. That's why people get attracted to more impersonal. Because they see personality has too many problems. And then if you say, that the Supreme Lord is, a person and he is in, Vrindavan, playing a flute and dancing with the gopis, they think you are gone off the cliff, So you lost your head.
Because they think that world has problem, we don't have any problem, and world should adapt as per our desires, as per our need.
Yes, that's a natural tendency, no? Okay, so thank you so much. We have to stop, otherwise this will. But today we had a good session. We have covered now like a major portion of this chapter. If we have made it through this much, then the final part will be very easy. Okay, so one more session. I think it'll take 1.5 sessions, and then we'll finish this chapter. And this is a great milestone. This is probably the most technical in terms of Siddhanta, this volume. Out of all the books of Srila Prabhupada, these 900 pages, very technical in terms of Siddhanta. And you know what Ravanath Maharaj just said? That if one actually seriously studies this first volume of the Adi Lila, then no one will leave ISKCON for lack of clarity of the philosophy. He says, he's made a statement like that.
Prabhu, birth of the Lord is in the next chapter or still far?
No, birth of the Lord is in the 13th chapter.
Still
But there are a few chapters that we will just skip because they're about, the lineage, like all the devotees, describing many devotees. So we'll not go through, each one. Otherwise, each one is like a session on their own. So, like it's describing the trunk of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the branches. So all the devotees, one by one, he describes. Like in each verse, he describes different devotees. So we'll not go through all those verses. So basically, we'll go through 8th and 9th, and 10th, 11th, 12th, we will just cover in 1 or 2 sessions. And then we'll go to 13th, which is the birth of Lord Chaitanya. So hang in there. You have done it, like you're almost there. 1.5 sessions to go. You're still sitting and smiling. That means that means that's Krishna's mercy. Okay.
Next 2 sessions will be online.
Yeah, so next 2 sessions online is 11:30, 11 o'clock, okay? Saturdays?
Yes, please.
Huh?
Yes,
Because in the evening at the Rath Yatras. There are no. Huh? Yeah, so we have Rath Yatra on Sunday in Fresco. Okay, so everyone is invited. So time from 9:30 to 1. And then again in the evening, we have Rath Yatra at M3M. And all of you have service there. Okay. So I have written your names for Prasadam Seva. M3M Rath Yatra. So that Rath Yatras will be from 5:30 onwards. Okay. The Rath Yatra actual. But there's a cultural program. You don't need to come for that. You can come just for the Rath Yatra. Or even if you're tired, then you can come for the Prasadam Seva. You can come and have Prasad first at 7:30 and then do Prasadam Seva. Yes.
5 मिनट कीर्तन करेंगे।
5 minutes?